Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. We have a surprise repeat guest. So for those of you who follow us, you will recognize the name. I'll pass it over to my co-host to introduce her in a minute, but super excited to have her back on the show. And please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on all your favorite platforms. Spread the word. And certainly want to thank best-selling Amazon author Nick Menard and his book, Mindset is My Degree, for sponsoring today's episode. Without further ado, Nick, let's introduce our repeat special guest.
Thank you so much, Will. Absolutely. So we have Janet back. So for those who didn't see the first episode of Wanderlust Wednesday with Janet as a guest, it was 6 weeks ago now, begin January. So very excited to have you back. We received so many positive feedback from our winners about you. And so we wanted to make sure that you're back on our Mindset Monday. Why? Because you are such a amazing brand in the travel world, and also someone with a great story of growing from, start where you start to where you are now. And it's very, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that and be able to also go to the same path that you've been to yourself. So that's why we're glad that you are back on our show. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
And I want to thank you because I did share that podcast with my parents and my family. And usually when I do podcasts, it's usually around the products I sell or I represent, the brands I represent. And you all went really personal on the questions, and you made it like as much about me as you made it about WinStar. And I think my family was very proud to watch that podcast. So thank you for that and giving me that opportunity to show my family my story from the lens of someone else.
The pleasure was sincerely ours, Janet. But having you back, it's so exciting and with your story. And I guess maybe if you don't mind, we could kind of kick it off as you reflect back on your journey and your mindset and how you've grown as a professional and you give back to others. How would you kind of like encapsulate it from a high level view for our listeners? And then we can go in a little more deeper.
Yeah. So, I know I'm talking to entrepreneurs, which are amazing professionals because, so much diligence in what they do, so much motivation that they need to have every single day to wake up in the morning and do something that they're very passionate about. And I see that, I've had a corporate career my entire career, but in every single stage of my career, I've had a lot of passion about what I do. And I think that's just so important when it comes to mindset. I've never felt that I had a job. I always felt that I've had a career, and I've had an amazing career, and I'm very grateful for that career, because I do feel whether it's you're an employee of a corporation or you're an entrepreneur trying to start a business, your motivation has to be something greater than money, and it has to be something that really fulfills you and that you have a passion about. Because that way, when times get hard, right? There's a day in the office that sometimes gets hard and it gets challenging. You're motivated to come back. You're motivated to, go home that day, put your head to bed and wake up the next morning refreshed, renewed, and ready to start again. When you lose that passion is when you kind of have to think and consider where you are and where do you have to reshift and focus on again. And so that's my mindset. My mindset is always to stay as passionate as can be about what I'm doing, as motivated. That's my motivation. And that's why I always, also think about the people who motivated me, right? Because sometimes we need help being motivated. And whether that's my husband that sits by my side or my family at a personal level, because sometimes, you show up to the office and you have a facade, or sometimes you show up to your employees, right? You have to lead by example as an entrepreneur. You have employees, you have partners, vendors, partners, and you have to show up. And so it's really good to have people to motivate you when you come back home, to lift you up when you've had a tough day. And so sometimes if you don't have that at home, you find that within your profession. You find that in your network of people that inspire you, they mentor you, and they support you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And it's funny when you first started mentioning about you'd never felt like you worked and you just had the passion for the roles. And I was reflecting on my early career, and sometimes I did take positions because of the pay, and it wasn't necessarily for the role or the skills I could hone. And I was miserable. And so when I started staying true and congruent with what are the skills I want to develop, what's the passion, what do I want to do, and worry less about the money, the funny thing is I started making more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I grew up as a marketer, right? I studied marketing. I always wanted to do marketing. And, you have people in that choose different paths and different, businesses but there's always like a skill that they have that's really good. So you can have a financial person that may open up different businesses, but they're really good at being finance people and running budgets and P&Ls and things like that. For me, I didn't stay very long in a lot of the companies that I worked for. I was a decade at Royal Caribbean, right? Like 3 or 4 years. Every time I had a knock on my door that was a larger, more responsibility position where I can grow my responsibilities. And I didn't have that position available where I was at. And so it made me move and work with other brands throughout my career. And I think that's important as well, because you can stay true to your passion. You can stay true to what you're really good at. Like I felt I was always really strong in marketing. Even though I have more expansive responsibilities now. But, if you really stay true also to what you're really good at, and you can have a variety of businesses, a variety of, places that you can work for. So you don't necessarily, if you get really burned out in a certain situation, you don't necessarily feel also that you're stuck there because you only have one skill and you only know one thing.
Yeah, very true. No, that's fantastic. And you touched on something there, touched on a lot of things, but one thing like on having, that guide or that mentor. And I know a lot of times when we chat with folks, there's people who made massive impressions on their life and their professional journey, if not personal journey. Do you have a couple people like that? Would you be willing to share some?
Long list. Long list. You know what? And I think we were talking about it pre the podcast. So I'm going to tell this story. I've worked a lot on my personal brand, right? And I think a lot about that. Like when I'm on social media, when I'm interacting with people, I'm very conscious about that more than ever before. And I remember I didn't even know what personal branding was back in the day. And I remember, in my early time at Royal Caribbean, Vicky Fried had just started as a sales leader, right, in her capacity at Royal Caribbean. And I remember she was hosting a class on personal branding for everyone who would come. And I remember speaking to my friend Janet Bava, who was in sales at the time, and she's like, "Have you attended Vicky's, personal branding class?" I didn't even know what that was. And here she is spending an hour of her time out of her goodwill. And there was a class packed full of, people across the organization, females, males across the Royal Caribbean, celebrity brands, all the brands under the Royal Caribbean umbrella at the time, just sitting there listening to her talking about personal branding. And I was so naive. I didn't even know what that was at the time. And throughout, I mean, she obviously she's a mentor to so many people. She's an icon in this industry. But throughout my career, I've had these amazing mentors that I have looked up to, that whether they have mentored me specifically or I have just interacted and collaborated and worked with them on. And I've taken something from each and every one of them and I have applied to me, and that I've been able to create my unique brand. And my unique brand today is a combination and a compilation of all these amazing people that I've worked for, males and female, in this amazing industry that we're part of. And I'm part of the cruise industry, the travel industry. And I love that. And I've taken the good plus the bad. I've also had, people that I've reported to that I tell to myself, I will never be make sure I will never micromanage a team to the point where they have to stand outside and make a line out of my office because I have to review every piece of communication that goes out the door. Like I've had those leaders and I'm like, I will never do that. Like I would never do that to myself or to them. So I think mentorship kind of also goes both ways, right? And it also doesn't have to be someone who directly invests their time in you. It can be for entrepreneurs today. We have so many ways that we can access a masterclass, someone online. It used to be you have to go to a conference in person. And so we have so much access to mentorship. And I love thought leadership courses. I love, to listen to people speak. and they inspire me every day. And sometimes I'm also just scrolling through internet, and I'm glad that I do that because I click and I spend time and engage on things that I like, and I'm getting more in my feed of things that interest me these days. So thank you to social media. Your algorithms are amazing.
I absolutely love this. I love this. And, you mentioned things that we keep mentioning on our Mindset Monday episodes about the power of having, mentors, and that a mentor is not, it doesn't have to be the same one all your career. You can have as many as you want, and you grow and you learn from each of them. So it's pretty much what you just share with us. Can you share with, your experience with mentors? Maybe some people have difficulties. They start the entrepreneurial journey and they don't really know how to reach out to people. Can you share a bit of your experience, how you actually, connect with some people that you would like to hear, their experience and how you can adapt some of them? Because for people, it's a barrier that they cannot reach, some people. So
Yeah.
if you can, share that would be great.
I think the best way to find a really good mentor is relationship building. There's a first step to mentorship because I think you first, you build a lot of relationships. You first go networking, right? I think networking is super important, whether virtually or in person. I think networking is so important, even for introverts. I mean, if you're an introvert, network from home behind a screen. It's okay, but network. Build a relationship, right? I think it's like a funnel. My marketing hat. It's a funnel. Build a relationship then with that individual. And then you're going to find from the relationship, right, that this individual may be a really good mentor for you. And then that's part of then asking the humble question of, hey, can you mentor me? Can you spend some time? And there are a lot of people, I know for me, like just the Vicky Fried example, there's a lot of people that are doing this, and they're doing this without even knowing they're mentors, and they're inspiring people every day. We know we live in the travel agent community. One of the things that I love to do is I consider travel advisors entrepreneurs because they all have their individual business that they're trying to build. They have revenue that they're trying to achieve, and they're part of this network. And, national accounts and consortia serve as mentorship and support, but they need to build the relationships with the suppliers that support them, right? And I think we have really good suppliers out there that have really amazing professionals that provide mentorship to the travel advisor community, who are entrepreneurs. And they do that because they understand that it's not about the brand they represent, but this is a relationship business. This is a relationship world. And I do feel to find a good mentor, you need to be comfortable with networking and building relationships with a lot of people so you can find that person that you feel you can learn something from.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And yeah, it's all about learning and growing, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to,
You
take that
do.
leap of faith and try to make those connections. And more often than not, people are very willing to help. It's just
They
a matter.
are. And sometimes it's just asking, right? Being humble and putting yourself in a vulnerable place to say, hey, you inspire me. For whatever reason, you may be inspired and I would love to spend more time with you. Can we go to lunch sometime? Right? Or can we have a virtual coffee one day? Can I take 20 minutes of your time? I would love to pick your brain about something. Or, define a challenge. I'm going through this challenge right now, and I would love to see how you would solve this problem. Right?
Yeah.
And then that's how the mentorship begins. And that's more from a relationship building perspective. Once you build a relationship, we all like to be heard. I'm here sitting here talking. I love to be heard. I love to give advice. And I think we get fulfilled by if someone can take this advice that I'm giving and can go and find a mentor, that's fulfilling. Whether I know who did or not, that to me is fulfilling that we can, help change lives in a positive way.
No, absolutely. And my next question is kind of a dotted line to a mentor, but as I reflect back and to our winners, our listeners, again, we had Janet on the 8th episode for WinStar with Wanderlust Wednesday, but during that episode, you talked about the influence of your father and the experience that he had and how that shaped your journey, and which was extremely powerful. And what I'm curious is, as you reflect back on what you shared in that, how your dad was such an inspiration to you, are there certain nuggets from that experience that you've taken and are like core in how you lead and coach others?
Absolutely. I think, you have to wake up every day with a smile on your face, ready to get the job done and do the work. Like you don't cut corners. You got to work because hard work pays off. And you also have to wake up every day and be appreciative of where you are. Especially, I think about today's, geopolitical environment. And I think about how much we all can get absorbed by media. No matter what side you're swinging on, you can get absorbed a lot, right? I've, my father has a political opinion, and when the pendulum swings this way, he really always just sits in the middle. He always tells me, he's like, I'm just proud to be an American, right? And so I think at the end of the day, no matter how, the political situation, whether you agree with it or not, you just have to be grateful that we are here, that we have that ability, that we can vote, that we do have a voice, that we have we can go and protest and say that we don't like something. That freedom that we all have, that is what we have to be grateful for and protect that and be, focus more on that than focusing on the negative, and knowing that there is a solution to everything. And, this country that we live in, and no matter where you live in, because all over the world, right? People are just so resilient, and we've gone through so much political and wars and so much turmoil, and something good always prevails. And so I think we all have to just really stay positive, and that stays with me. When you have a challenging situation at work, if you have a challenging situation in your day-to-day with your work, you may, be seeing all of a sudden your numbers not going the direction that you wanted it to be, right? And so you can't blame anything, but just take and own and say, what can I control? What can I do? And let me try and make that the best that I can, because there's things that we can't control as human beings. And I think I've learned that a lot from my parents, both my mom and my dad, in terms of just really being grateful and try and see what can you control, what can you change to make your situation better. And the fact that you do have a choice to make that change, we all do. I think that's really great. And that's something that I'm grateful for, and I've taken with me from them.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, it's so cool to hear what a powerful influence both your parents had on you and shaping your mindset and obviously helping your career, especially as a leader. You basically kind of just described the growth mindset and the ladder of accountability, which are two concepts that we talk a lot about on Monday nights. So thank you.
Yes. Accountability is important because I know on a day-to-day basis, right? I say that to my team, and I think about the people that I lead and holding myself accountable. And actually just had a situation today that I always think about, like, I got a call from Chris, our president, and something had happened and he was not aware of something that had happened. And I said, I immediately always think, like, I don't think, who am I going to point the finger at? I'm thinking about, okay, what can I have done to try and get this information to him, and what will I do the next time? And so I just I held myself accountable for. I'm like, yep, I get it. You know what? You probably did not get updated on this, so let me, we'll make sure to get you updated on that. And I just helped. The whole accountability factor is so important, because when the person on the other side, understands that you're holding yourself accountable for your piece, but you're not focused on the issue or the problem, it does help a conversation and a conflict. And I think about, entrepreneurs, they come across so much conflict, right? And you as much as, you're solving more problems, right? And you're trying to come up with solutions constantly. And the way that I think the best way for you to problem solve is to look within to say, how can I solve this problem, right? What is under my control and what is outside of my control? And I think that's when, you can absolutely influence things outside of your control. But I always say, how can you hold yourself accountable for driving change? And I think that's something that I try to do. That's my mindset.
Love it. It's the victor mentality is what we call it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I do have a question for you. So you mentioned the importance of mentorship, of course, when you start your career, but I want to put, ourselves in the shoes of a 20 years old who wants to start an entrepreneur journey and want to follow, like the path that you had, for example, in travel or any other industry. What other advice would you give that person based on your own experience when you just start a journey in an industry to build your own brand, like you mentioned, and then have like success doesn't come overnight, but in order to grow and become successful as you go in entrepreneurship?
I think you got to take it by pieces. I think we all have this North Star that we're trying to reach. And I can think of myself as a 20-year-old, and I wanted to be successful. But a lot of things, times you don't know what success, how that success is defined. And especially at 20 years old, success is very different than what myself right now at 46 years old can define success to be. So it's whatever they want to achieve, right? Start in pieces. And for those of people, whether you're really good at planning or just, every day figuring out what you have to do, because you have two types of people, whatever that is, try and set yourself really achievable goals and celebrate those goals and be able to shift and pivot, right? And I'm saying that because at 20, there's so much to do, there's so much to learn, and there's so much unknown. And you think you want to do something, and then you kind of gain experience, and then you realize that you change, you mature, you change and evolve as a human. And then when you feel like what you really wanted to do becomes that's not really what you wanted to do. And I think that that's really important to understand at the age of 20, of define your North Star and break that into pieces of what's your next success going to look like, so that you don't get overwhelmed, or you don't get deflated by when you don't achieve the next level of success.
Wow.
And the last thing I would say with that is you have to get really comfortable at failing. Sometimes, and whether it was my generation or this next generation that's coming up, if you're 20 years old and you have to be really comfortable. I'm still learning to be really comfortable with failing and things not going my way. And I think when you become really comfortable at that and learn from it and know that this is a learning lesson, for you to become a better human being, or for you to be able to pivot your business, right? You failed at something. It's not that you're a failure. It's not because your business is going to fail. It's because it's a lesson at that point in time that you're going to learn and take to move on to the next chapter in your business, in your career, etc.
Yeah, follow your North Star. I love this, but I was laughing when you were talking, just because we promised the winners we didn't coach Janet to say those things, because literally every single week for the Monday mindset, we talk about everything you just mentioned. So that for someone who's starting entrepreneurship, like celebrate so small wins, have a goal, but drill through this goal into smaller goal and celebrate each way, and look back and look at everything that you accomplished, because sometimes we don't feel like we feel we have so much more to do, that we don't realize that in the back we did so much already, that we need to be able to look sometimes in the back to feel better about the journey. And then finally, like you finished by mentioning learning to be okay with failure and learn from those failures, because it's just a step for another step to success. So I love that everything you mentioned. Something that I wanna one more question I have, and then I will pass the ball to Will again. But it's really about in the industry, the travel industry. And I'm not saying that because you're there, but you were really one of the few leaders that everybody have a positive opinion about. And you've been through, different brand, of course, before landing in Winstar. And even when I talk to those people, when they hear your name, they always like shine and then say all the right thing. It's so hard in any industry to move from one to another. At the end of the day, I don't like to use competitors, but it's kind of the case, and still have such a great rapport. You mentioned, you mentioned your mentors who are still working in other company. So how are you building that? How are you maintaining that? I have an idea, but I want you to share with your own word to be able to keep that.
Yeah, this is a small industry. It's huge, right? But it's really small. And I can't remember who's the one that first told me this, but along the way, everyone has, always told me, and I'm living proof, is that you don't burn any bridges. Every time I have resigned to any role that I've had, I have left there with the best relationship, because to me, it wasn't anything that had to do with what I was doing in that role or function. It was a personal choice, because it had something to do with either my personal life, like my most recent change. It was really because I wanted to go back to Miami. It was a personal decision as much as it was a professional expansion of my roles and responsibility, where I could expand now from marketing into a commercial role and have all these departments report up to me and plan itineraries and have a contact center center that reports to me, and revenue management, pricing and promotions, and a sales department. Like, it was fascinating to me that I could expand my role beyond marketing. But really, I always say, you don't burn your bridges, and you build a really strong relationship with everyone. And that's how all my roles have come about. I can tell you that it also has not been all pretty pictures. The people who I've probably had the most challenge with in my career are people who felt intimidated by me. And I'll tell you that because have kept, sometimes, no matter how much you try to have a positive relationship with someone, and I'll tell you this for entrepreneurs, you really try and knock on that door, you really try and build that relationship, and that person just doesn't want to work with you or doesn't want to help you, or they're intimidated by you. They're intimidated by your success. They're intimidated by the possibilities of what you can do as an entrepreneur. And that's sometimes you find people along the way that may not be as positive minded as you all are, and trying to be such a strong people. And so I think that's what I've come across. I've come across that when I have had challenges with certain individuals, I have respectfully, kind of moved back from that relationship. But it has happened very few times and far in between. And I usually do find, as a female, sometimes people are just intimidated by me because I'm a strong female, by the way. I'm very opinionated as well. I'm bossy. I'm also and I'm, like, I'm very bossy, and people, and it's not that I think I'm actually technically bossy. I don't boss people around. It's because I have a strong personality and I come off so passionate about what I really want to get done. And if I have an idea, I will fight to the end to get that idea done. Even if people don't agree with me, I'm like, I really believe this is going to work. And you know what? At the end of the day, people can see that, well, that wasn't a great idea. For me, it was an amazing idea. And I will look at why it was so amazing. And so I think, for entrepreneurs listening in, you may have this most amazing business idea. Don't let anyone water your idea down. If you truly believe in this idea and your passion, you go for it and you keep working. And all the skepticism that surrounds you, eliminate that and mute them out, because I've had that. I've had a lot of skepticism that has surrounded me. And I know this is kind of going off from your question, but I think this is why people, talk so positively around me, because even the people that have, have been skeptical of me and what I can achieve and succeed, see me now and they're like, wow, she really did make it. Wow, she's doing really good for herself, right? And I didn't think she could do it. Or I didn't think, she can do that. And I think that, I also thrive on that. I thrive on showing people that didn't believe in me, showing people that were skeptical about me and what I can contribute to a company or do. I've had those people along the way, and I'm very proud to say that I'm glad I muted them out and focused more on the people that supported me and lifted me up and mentored me and showed me the way. And so I will say that, keep your relationship strong, and don't scoop yourself down to the people who don't believe in you. Eliminate them from your ecosystem and focus on the people who do believe in you and believe in yourself, most of all. Because if you do that, you can achieve anything.
Oh, it's so powerful. And we talk about, like, a lot of times people become the reflection of the 5 people they surround themselves and interact with the most. So to your point, if you have people, even if there's good intentions, where they're like, oh, don't you think that's a little risky or whatever, and they're bringing you down or affecting your energy.
Yeah, or talking behind your back, right? Like, I
Exactly.
I cannot tell you the times that I have had, oh, this person said that behind your back, or you were in the, oh, yeah. And it's like, you mute them out. It doesn't matter. Like, their opinion of me is their opinion. That's their problem. I have an opinion of me, and I have an opinion of the work that I need to get done here. And as long as I have, the support of the people that surround me and my team, right? I'm at a point right now where sometimes, I may not agree with where the team and direction is going, but I see their passion. And I was just having a conversation with Patty yesterday, our head of marketing. And because I've done marketing, I'm probably the most opinionated about the work that she does. And I stopped myself and I was like, you know what? You've got it. I was kind of giving her an opinion about something. And then she was like kind of defending it in a sense, or just giving me her position on it. Not defending it. She was giving me, why we should be doing it. And I just sat there and said, you know what, Patty, you've got it. Like, you really've got it. And I trust that you're going to do the best thing, because you're amazing and she's amazing. And she's probably even a better marketer than I am. And I was like, why am I even questioning her when she's got it? She's a superstar. And I know she's so passionate like about what she does. Why am I going to, turn off her fire inside of her? And so I try kind of pay that forward as well. I try and practice what I preach.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. I guess the last question I had is very early in our chat today, you were talking about how you are on social media, you're following different things, getting things from the feed. So whether it's like a book or a podcast or what's something lately you've come across involving leadership that really resonated with you that you could recommend to our winners?
A couple things. So my sister, I don't think I've talked about my sister in the podcast, but my sister has actually been one of my greatest mentors. She's my older sister, and she is completely the polar opposite of I. She has gone into the financial sector. She's the more introvert of the two. And she's gotten me the new Masterclass app. I'm sure you've been served ads on this.
Yeah.
Oh, I've loved, everything from Martha Stewart to learning about menopause and just really I'm trying to live a long, healthy life, longevity, because here's the thing for entrepreneurs and professionals, sometimes we work so hard that we make ourselves ill. And the stress levels that we put ourselves through actually impact our health. So actually, where I'm more focused on is not so much leadership growth mindset. I've been there, done those classes. And as you said, we are aligned in that thinking. Right now, more is what I'm focused on is how do I live a healthy, long life so that I can do what I love for a lot longer. And I want to live a long, healthy life so I can see my children grow up. I want to live alongside my husband and live and enjoy our retirement and the fruits of our labor from working so hard. So what I would say is from everything that you're doing as an entrepreneur, as a professional to reach your goals, and even if you're 20 years old, think about your health and think about staying healthy, because what you do at 20, you'll pay for it when you're 40, 50, 60, and 100, right? If you get there. So that's what I'm really into right now.
That's awesome. And I wish somebody would have told me that when I was going to kegger parties in my 20s, but now I'm paying the price. No.
I was saying this now. I'm trying to retract time. I'm like, I think that was the 5 a.m. party and coming home at night. I've never been to Miami. That was the party town. You woke up at midnight. That was me. And so now I'm trying to recover and replenish from everything that was not done, that was not good for your body back in the day.
Yeah. But like you said, it's never too late to start living a healthier lifestyle. So kudos, Janet. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. We could still talking with you because you're such an inspiration, and you're very good explaining the different steps in your career, and you're such an inspiration, I'm sure, for a lot of our winners as well. So thank you for coming back. Really, really appreciate everything, pouring your knowledge to everybody. So so I will have to stop this this episode right now, unfortunately. But thank you for joining, and we know that. I will keep looking at your career and see what you're gonna do next.
The same. You guys are doing pretty amazing, and I will say, one of the next podcasts you all need to be listening to is WinStar. We're actually starting our podcast.
Yes, do that.
So you have all inspired me to start a podcast. So I urge you all, if you want to, learn more about WinStar and see me trying to be a podcast host, talk about, trying new things and growing and going into an uncomfortable space. That's definitely the new podcast at WinStar, but I think it's going to turn out good. So I would love to hear your feedback, gentlemen, because you're doing a pretty amazing job with these podcasts.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's fantastic. Congratulations. How exciting. It's a great way to connect with people. That's the success with it. I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal.
And we're going to put here below in the description, we're going to put the link for the WinStar podcast. Mm-hmm. So everybody, you can go in and you can listen to Janet, and we will definitely do that as well.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So thank you so very much. Absolutely. Bye, Janet.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Mm-hmm. All right, winners. Just a powerful story and message, and want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Janet for coming on again. What a story. Hope you took away some meaningful nuggets. I know I did. And apply that in your mindset in your life, such a difference it can make. So with that, that'll wrap up today's episode. Again, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win. And thanks again to best-selling Amazon author Nick Menard and his book Mindset is My Degree, which you can find on Amazon and Audible, for sponsoring today's episode. So that'll do it. We will see you next week for next Monday Mindset. In the meantime, take care, winners, and be well.